All right, Bobby, you're our intro guy.
Every day is a national day. Welcome to Today Is, a podcast about what today is. I'm Bobby Barker.
And I'm Joey Nickel.
And welcome to our podcast, Today Is. With our special, very special guest.
Today is our second special guest of the entire podcast. We're not counting my children. They're not real people.
Correct.
Wes Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. Wes Johnson.
Wes!
This is Wes
How's
Johnson.
everybody doing? I'm glad y'all were going to introduce me because I thought I missed it when you introduced you and you
No, you're
introduced
good.
you, and I was like,
That was just for
"Can I
us.
go here?"
Here, let's have you go ahead and hold it. Yeah.
Yeah, frankly, we
All
don't
right.
know how to do that yet.
Yeah, we don't
we're
know how to
learning.
do our intro really. It's kind of different every time. We've never planned any of this.
I think it was good.
Yeah,
It's good.
It was good.
Little heads up next time.
Yeah.
We did it.
Well, welcome to the show, Wes Johnson. You are a stand-up comic. I've known you for at least 9 or 10 years, maybe 9 years,
Yeah.
maybe about 9 years.
I don't know anymore. That's
Yeah,
how
I
long
don't
we've been
know.
doing this.
Well, I started 10 years ago at the Comedy Zone. Like, it was 10 years ago in November because my graduation show at the Comedy Zone was it was a Thanksgiving week. It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So I just hit 10 years. And then I met you at a Jackie Knight's competition.
Yeah.
And I may have been a year in at that point when I met you. No, maybe even before then. So it might have been before then even. So it could
Yeah,
be.
that was probably pretty quick.
It's
And
probably pretty
because
quick.
that was my first like real comedy club show. And I thought that Jackie Knight's Comedy Club was a comedy club.
Yeah, we all did.
And I invited 300 people to
Yeah,
that show,
yeah.
to which like 75 of them showed up, and it was,
It was probably a great show.
Yeah.
It was probably a great show for everybody.
yeah.
That is like double the crowd most times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
And then the next time she booked me, there were 8 people. So
Yeah.
that's more true.
Yeah, that's more like
The matrix of how that show works.
So here's my first introduction to you was I had won the way Jackie Knight's competition, and we've talked about it before in the podcast, but the way the Jackie Knight's competition works, we used to work in the original days, was you would win your night, and then you would move on to the finals. And then how many would they do? Like 8 people in the finals?
Yeah, I think it was
Something like
8
that?
people.
So it was like they do it over 8 weeks, and then then they do a finals week, and then the winner of that finals supposedly got a feature spot at Gregory's, which at the time were like features. That's it. That means you made it if
Yeah.
you get the feature spot at Gregory's.
I'm a feature. I can start touring.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's how you make it. You get a feature spot at a comedy club above a seafood restaurant in Cocoa Beach, Florida. That's how you make it. So that's what we thought at the time that was making it. I won my night, you won your night, and we met at the finals. And I've got you get the list of who's on the finals based on the flyer ahead of time. And I was talking to do you remember Kevin Kyle?
Yes.
I don't even know where he is now. He could be dead or in jail. I have no idea. But
I like that those are the 2 options.
he used to be. He was I thought he was a pretty funny comic.
Yeah.
And he won the competition before we did. Like I think the one before we did, he had won. And I asked him. I said, "Hey, do you know any of these people we're going through?" And he goes, "Oh, Wes Johnson." He goes, "Oh, you're not going to win." I was like, "Oh, why?" And he goes, "Nah, yeah, you're just not." And I was like, "Okay." And then I looked you up, and I was like, "Oh, he's in a wheelchair and he's a veteran." And I think it was Veterans Day, actually, the day we were doing the competition, too.
Well planned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something like
It was,
that.
it was a
like,
strategy of mine.
Yeah. But yeah, everybody knew back then that you were going to win the competition, and you did. You won the competition
Not because I was funnier than y'all, just because I was in a wheelchair.
just because you were in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And you were funny.
And-
Let's not discount that. You are funny.
My favorite one is the competition in Savannah where
Oh,
you
yes. Oh.
had to carry me up the stairs.
Yes. Now, at that point, we had known each other. We had already worked together a few times.
Yeah.
I think you were already part of the Comedy Zone by that point.
Yeah.
You came into the Comedy Zone. You started comedy about the same time as me, but you came into the Comedy Zone later than me.
Yeah.
Like maybe a couple graduation.
I hadn't
classes
made
after.
$200
Yeah.
until much later.
Yeah, you used to have to pay $200 to be in the Comedy Zone. So you came in a little bit later than me, and by that point we had probably worked together and knew each other. And then you show up to the Savannah comedy competition, which we just did a couple weeks ago.
Right. Yep.
And there are, I mean, how tall do you think those stairs were? Like,
Oh, that is easily 25 feet of stairs.
yeah, at least 25 feet of stairs, no elevator, no ramp, nothing to get you up there. And so me and your dad carried you up those stairs in a conventional wheelchair, not an electric one.
in a manual wheelchair.
In a
And no
manual.
one had told me that until the day of the contest.
Yeah.
Like, oh, by the way, it's on the second floor.
Yeah. And so we carried you up there, and you ended up getting. Did you win the competition? Something.
No, I got
you
second
something.
place.
Second place.
Yeah.
You got second place and squeaked me out for getting. I probably would have I probably would have at least gotten third. I think they told me that I was the next one down from third place, and I think Christina got third. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christina got third, and you got second, and then some guy got first. I don't remember who it was.
I don't either.
I don't remember who it was.
He's probably dead or in jail.
Yeah, he's
Those are
probably
the
dead
two
or in
options.
jail. Those are the two options if you haven't seen anybody in years. Yeah, and so if I hadn't have carried you up those stairs, I would have gone home with whatever the third place prize gets, $50 or something.
Yeah.
What?
But then he had to carry me down the stairs.
Then I had to
too.
carry you down the
Yeah.
stairs after losing.
A consolation prize.
Yeah, the consolation
you have to
prize
carry him
was
down
I
the
got
stairs, too.
another workout carrying you down the stairs.
You had to take Wes home.
Yeah. But I actually had a really good time at the competition, and I got a really good recording out of it. Did you get a good recording out of that competition?
No.
Really?
No, did you record your own?
No, I got his recording.
No, I didn't get a recording.
You never got a recording?
No.
Oh.
That's a shame.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I got a great recording out of that. I used that recording then for submissions and publicity after. That was my first professional recording that I used for promotional or sending to bookers and stuff. It got me gigs. Like, it got me a lot of work using that recording. And then from then on, that became the reason to do it. It was like, I want to go because it's always a sold out crowd. It's always a huge crowd, and it's always a good crowd. Savannah has good crowds, and so I always go. I've done it for 5 times now. I've done it 5 times total, and every time I get a good recording out of it. So
I got scolded by the owner for not having a business card.
Oh, okay.
He's like, "Well, how am I supposed to book you if you don't have a card?" Like, all right, well, I could give you my number.
Right, yeah.
Hey, I could give you my phone number.
Call you.
Business cards are how comics are booked. I don't know if people know that or not, but if you don't
That's
have
the
business
industry.
cards, yeah.
Anytime I've called him at any point in the year to try and book a show, he sends me the link to.
Yeah, he acts like he doesn't know you.
Well, he sends me the link to the contest
Yeah,
in November. Like, yeah, I already did that. It's like, remember?
Yeah,
Steve-
he's an interesting guy.
Steve at the Comedy Club of Jacksonville used to be the same way.
Yes,
Like,
yeah,
I've
definitely.
been here.
Yeah, Steve was definitely similar.
How many guys in wheelchairs do you know that you forgot about me?
How many guys in wheelchairs that do comedy
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah. It is interesting. I think I was on a show with you one time where there was another guy in a wheelchair, and you guys kind of canceled each other out that night.
I don't remember where that was, but
You know what I'm talking about?
There's a blind guy out of Orlando.
Oh, yeah, Eric Lutz.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he always beats me in any kind of
Yeah.
competition that we're both in. Like, blind trumps
I guess,
wheelchair.
yeah, blind. Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, you can drive, so
Yeah.
You have all your senses. Well, that's another story. Do you still have, can you smell?
Can't smell.
Can't smell?
Can't smell.
You want to tell that story real quick.
So I was at a show one night in my manual. Well, I was in my power chair first, and then we needed to transfer it to the manual chair. So we put the manual chair together. I did the show. After the show, we're talking, and I go to lean back on the tipper bars, and we didn't put the tipper bars on it. So I didn't just fall backwards, but I thrusted myself backwards onto the concrete floor and cracked my head open. I hit the back of my head so hard that it bruised the front of my brain.
So your brain shook in your skull then?
Yes.
Oh
yes.
my gosh, man.
And I had a brain bleed, which led to the end of smelling things.
And this was before it was popular.
Yeah.
This is before people lost their sense of smell during COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you still haven't gained it back.
No, didn't come back.
Didn't come back.
But it's really one of those things where you don't notice it until somebody says something smells.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, I hope it's not me.
Yeah, right.
It could be me.
I had that last night. I was home. I had a long day. You know, I worked. I picked up my son. Just got home. My wife just got home, and she's immediately like, "What smells? These dishes need to be done." I'm like, I was planning on doing them. I didn't smell anything. She's like, it's awful, and she couldn't let it. I'm like, I'll do it now, and she.
Had you just been around it long enough that you didn't notice?
I don't have a great sense
You
of
have
smell.
a great sense. Yeah, I have a good sense of smell. And so when I had COVID, my sense of smell went away for maybe a day or two. It was not long. I could still taste. That's why I didn't really notice that it had gone away. And then I noticed I was drinking some Gatorade, and I was like, wait, I don't smell that Gatorade. And I was like trying to smell food, like I couldn't smell anything. Only a couple days that it went away. So it was noticeable because I usually have a good sense of smell. Like I'm very sensitive to smells. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan. It's not a good thing to be sensitive to smells.
If you want to be extra on any of your senses, smell is probably not one of them.
Smell is not the good one.
Yeah.
Hearing could be annoying too. I could see that being. I used to have a great sense of hearing. I used to be able to hear my wife whisper across the house, but now I'm, 40 and it doesn't.
You've tuned that out.
Yeah, I've tuned out. Yeah, now I've been married for 16 years, so I've tuned that out for sure.
I'm just done listening to that.
I don't even hear that frequency anymore.
Like when you hear an explosion and then you can't hear a certain sound after that.
I will say the first time that I saw Wes do stand-up comedy, we met very briefly, and you probably have no recollection of it, but it was at a place downtown. Was it the Birdcage?
It was Hourglass Pub.
Hourglass Pub.
Not that I have
was
any
cool, too.
recollection of it, but it was Hourglass.
And
That's where you busted your head.
Yes.
It was at
Almost-
Hourglass.
Maybe that show. It could have been
It
it.
could have been.
it was they did a improv show, and I have an improv background, but I was getting back into stand up, and like, okay, I can do like a 4 or 5 minute set, and I was not great. It wasn't bad, but just getting back into the swing of it, and then I saw the other stand ups who I didn't really know go, and I'm like, crap, I'm so far behind in being funny. These guys are much funnier than me. So thank you for the motivation.
Yeah. That may have been the night that Patrick Dalton talked about biscuits for 15 minutes and annihilated the room.
Patrick Dalton, man. That guy, I don't know that guy has ever told a joke. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's never, stuck to joke structure.
Right.
But I've seen him be the funniest person I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen him be the weirdest, bombing, unfunny person I've ever seen in my life. It's hit or miss with Patrick Dalton, or it used to be. I haven't seen him in years. He could be dead, or
I believe just in Atlanta.
in prison.
I think he's just in Atlanta.
Dead
seems to
or
be
in prison.
Doing
dead
okay.
and in prison.
Yeah.
He died in prison. Yeah. Patrick. Shout out to Patrick Dalton. He was very funny. He was one of the very first open mic I ever did was at Hourglass, and he was on it. And I remember seeing that guy and being like, "Who the heck is this guy? Like this is going to be somebody, right? I got to watch this guy." And then he moved to Atlanta, and I have not seen anything. So we'll see. Maybe he's really famous in Atlanta. I have no idea.
I do have to say, I'm going to break in here. I did bring a present for you, Joey.
You brought a present for me?
I brought a present for you.
But not for Wes.
Not for Wes. One, I was told that we might have a guest, but I was not informed that we
do
were
have a
specifically having a guest.
Well, we'll get to that.
I think we could have given that to him later. Right?
This is very podcast related.
Oh, okay.
Is it a Zoom recorder?
That was the mic we couldn't find.
It is not, but I got this specifically for you.
Okay.
And it has been edited.
Oh, it's the sauce from the taco.
Yes. Yep.
From our taco episode. It's the sauce. Yes. It's called Smack My Sweet, and then that's blocked out. Smack My Sweet, blocked out, and Call Me Sally.
Yep.
Smack My Sweet behind and Call Me Sally. That's the name of the sauce. My son will enjoy this sauce too. He loved that sauce.
Yes, and I know that you loved it.
Yes, it was delicious. I loved it. Thank you, Bobby.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Bobby.
And I am glad you did not get me a bottle of hot sauce. So also thank you.
No, you don't like hot sauce?
No.
I will have some of this probably tonight with my son. That will be. Thank you very much. That was very nice of you. Did you buy it at?
I bought it at Tijuana
Flats. Yeah.
Yes. I was driving by. I said, I know that I have to get a present for you. And that is going to be the best present. It was difficult because I went in and everything smelled really good. And I'm not eating.
You're not eating food still?
Yeah. I can have some really liquidy food, but I'm like,
well, you could drink this.
There you go. I bet that'll knock a pound or two off of you.
That's exactly what healing internal organs want is spice.
Yeah, it's hot sauce. Yeah.
It's like rubbing salt on it.
Yeah.
On a wound.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very excited about this. Our second episode ever was National Taco Day.
Our most controversial episode.
Our most controversial episode, which is not available anymore, by the way.
It's not.
No, I took it down because it was too controversial. No, I took it down because when people find our podcast, people start with the first episode, and so I wanted the first episode to be You Go Girl because that was a really good episode.
I get it.
So I took down Chocolate Milk Day and National Taco Day so that when people find our podcast for the first time, I wanted to boost the numbers on You Go Girl Day.
Right.
Because You Go Girl Day is a very good episode. I would recommend you go download and listen to it now. To the two people that are listening to this podcast right now. I know Spike watches, Spike Yoder.
Okay, so Spike.
So Spike.
I've got a friend named Chris.
Only to criticize your man.
Only to later have an argument with me about how odds work. We're not going to get into that. We've already covered that way too much.
Hey, that is perfect because that's what real friendship is. They take the thing you love to do and then just crush it.
So anyway, so I know Spike Yoder he actually watches the podcast on YouTube. So this video is for you, Spike Yoder. So Spike Yoder, you listen to the taco episode, but I would recommend this sauce to anybody. It is very good. If you like spicy, sweet stuff, if you don't like, it's not that spicy though.
No,
it's just very good flavor.
Yeah,
it's a very good flavor,
wonderful flavor.
So, all right, so we'll do a couple background things for Wes, and then we'll go into our topic, which we have a topic, but it's not going to generate a lot of material. It's more for the visual. But we'll go into the topic in a minute. But I wanted to ask you when did you decide? When did you figure out that you wanted to do stand-up comedy? Like, what gave you that idea?
So I when we were at boot camp, after boot camp, we went to our first Army school, and we were in Norfolk, Virginia. And there's a comedy club called Kazi's in Virginia that we went to every Friday night because you could leave and
you got some free time on Fridays.
Yes, you weren't allowed to drink at all while you were at school, and so at the beginning of the comedy show, they would always ask for all the military people to stand up, and they would give them a round of applause. So they would do that, and then you could see if anybody in your chain of command was at the show. And then if they weren't, then you could go ahead and drink.
Yeah, that was your little test.
Yeah.
Leave it to comedians.
Yeah. So we started going there, and I kind of kind of fell in love with stand-up. And then in 2011, after I wrecked a Jeep, broke my neck, was in the hospital for about 2 months, very sad. And I found that if we could laugh about it, everybody would be okay. Because nobody wants to be sad all the time. So I started joking about that, and then kind of parlayed that into stand-up comedy. And then kind of went from there. So that's.
Were you funny before the accident?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
like you already had a sense of humor. You already knew how to. So that probably helped you get through the accident.
Yeah.
Like already having a sense of humor. You didn't have to develop it to cope.
So I credit my mom and dad. My mom has a twisted sense of humor. It is inappropriate, and then my dad can tell a story based on very little bit of the truth. So the two of them have combined.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad you inherited something
Yeah.
from your parents.
Did your parents tell stories?
My dad was a storyteller for
Yeah.
sure. My dad was a storyteller and was funny. My dad was dad funny though. Like, you know what I mean? Like he would tell jokes and we loved his jokes, but they were very pun related and stuff like that. But he would tell story jokes. Like
Yeah.
he would take forever and tell a long drawn out story joke. My mom was a performer. Like she was a singer, like was in professional choirs and stuff like that, and a performer, and in theater. She did a lot of plays and musicals and stuff like that. So I kind of got my performer gene from her, and then the humor from my dad. I think that's where that came from.
Yeah. So my dad would tell stories of his childhood and his friends, and his dad was in the military, so they moved around. So we know all these people. And then as we got older, like we would hear him tell stories about us. Like he would tell a story about me to somebody else. Like, that's not what I said. Like, wait, that's not how I said it at all. I didn't do that. And then you're like, wait a minute. I bet my whole life he's just been making these stories up. I don't know if these people. I've never met any of these people. I don't know if they exist or not.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a great comedy format right
Yeah.
there.
Like it's like I bet he didn't actually do that.
I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit on writing and stand-up comedy. When I remember discovering that I could lie on stage. Do you remember discovering that in your writing? Or like I remember there was a certain point when I was a couple of years in where I was like, oh, it would have been funny if that had happened. And then I was like, well, why can't I just say it happened?
Yeah.
And then now I will say everything I say on stage is true to an extent.
Yeah.
Everything comes from a place of authenticity. First of all, even if it's not true, it comes from an authentic thought that I have. I'm trying to be myself and tell stories and talk about personal experiences, and be unique. But but everything has a seed. Everything starts with a seed of like this happened, and then I add stuff to it that I make up. And I remember discovering, I was like, oh, I don't have to tell the truth on stage. Like that's not. I can lie. I can make up say something happened. Did you have that experience?
Yeah, early on. Like I made up a lot of stuff, but then people will ask you, like, if it's true, and then I feel so bad. But I'm like,
Yeah, you do
no,
feel
that's
bad when you say
that's
it's not-
just a
yeah.
joke. It
Yeah.
actually, like a lady came up to me behind the Comedy Zone one time. She's like, so is this for real? Like, what do you mean? Like, are you really in a
She was questioning whether you were
whether or
actually
not I
in a
was
wheelchair.
actually in a wheelchair? And
How
like,
sick would you have to
I'm
be?
I'm like, yes. She's like, no, I know you're in a wheelchair, but was it really a car wreck? And I was like, no, it was actually a diving accident, but car wrecks are funnier. And she's like, oh, yeah, I get it. And then she just walked off before I could tell her that I was joking.
Before you could admit
Yeah,
that,
like-
that was just a joke.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like questioning the accident.
Yes.
That-
How far are you willing to go?
Car wrecks are funnier.
Car wrecks are funnier.
By the way, in what world are car wrecks funnier? It's
In
gonna,
her world, she got it.
Yeah,
Oh,
like exactly. Like yeah, of course, car wrecks are funnier. Yeah,
I mean, it
for
depends
sure.
on where you wreck.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes, you know.
I always say, so I talk about my faith a lot. I talk about being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And often people will come up and say, and I talk about being fat too. And then people will come up and say like, oh, is that real? Are you actually Mormon? And I'll say, yeah, but I'm not fat though. That's just part of the act.
just joking on that.
Yeah. I will not admit when I lie. And I used to when I was first started off. I would say like, no, that's actually I made up that part of the story or whatever. And I won't admit when I lie anymore because I don't want that disappointment of like I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't be disappointed. Maybe that's all in my head. But like I don't want that. I don't want the confrontation of having to admit when I make up something on stage.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think one of the weirdest things is when I'm on stage and I'm talking about family and I try to speak glowingly of my wife, and then afterwards, like it doesn't happen that often, but it happens often enough. A lady from the audience will flirt with me and hit on me. I'm very obviously happily married. Like that's not an act. And I guess it could be, but it's like, why would you?
That's
hit
a
on
weird
me?
thing.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I could understand like if you had written a bunch of stuff. I could see if you had written a bunch of jokes about your wife, but like if you're talking glowingly about your wife, that's like that doesn't seem like that would be an act. I would see more like if you're making fun of your wife,
Right,
and you don't actually have a wife. I could see that. Or if you're like, oh, my wife said this, and you just have a lot of jokes about it. Or if you got divorced recently and you're like, well, I haven't changed the act yet.
Right. Yeah.
But speaking highly of your wife on stage, which I do too. I have jokes where I talk about how my wife is smarter than me and better looking than me and all this stuff. And that would be a funny thing to lie about. That would be.
Well,
weird.
I wish we didn't get along so well because that seems to be the ticket is to try to not say nice things about your wife.
Yeah, exactly.
To glorify the arguments that you have with your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about like marriage frustrations, things like that. But I'm like, at the end of the day, the end of the joke's like my wife's right and better than me, and I love her. So
my wife has to help me get in bed. So
yeah, right.
no matter what the argument is, it has to be over by 10 o'clock.
Yeah. How long did it take you to come to grips with the fact that you would have to have help the rest of your life? Like, was that a psychological adjustment for you? Were you married already when you had the accident?
No, we were together. We'd been together, I think, 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years. And then we were engaged for like a year and a half. And it just was one of those things like you're going to have help.
Yeah.
Try not to be mean about it, Just as tell people, it's like you gotta have a positive attitude about it no matter what, because nobody wants to hang out with somebody who's a jerk. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad you have a wife to help you out.
Me too.
And now you've recruited some children to be part of your life, so that you have somebody to take care of you when you're old.
Yes. When my wife gets old and tired.
Yeah.
We have 3 kids that we're training up.
You have 3 kids?
Yes.
And 1 girl?
2 girls.
2 girls,
and a boy.
1 boy.
Yeah.
2 girls, 1 boy.
2 girls.
And you have how many kids?
I've got 3 kids.
3 kids?
Yeah.
I have 3 kids also. Yeah. We all have 3 kids. We're the tri-dads.
Yeah. Yes.
We are. Yeah.
And you have regular kids, you have step kids, and I have foster kids.
I've got a combination of step and real. Some
Step and real? Is that you?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
You're not a real kid.
Yes.
You're not a real
You're Pinocchio. You call your stepkids Pinocchio.
Yeah. It's some I bought pre-made and some I made myself.
Yes, it is nice when you get to pick them.
Yeah.
Yeah, all your kids are adopted, but they're brother and sister?
Yes.
They're all related. Yeah,
Yes, they are
that's
related.
fun. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a weird way to say it, but that's nice that they're all brother and sister. Then it's like, I
Yes.
think that's a good way to do it.
It's a natural.
Yeah.
tension between them. They can fight.
Yeah, exactly.
They just naturally
Exactly.
fight. There's nothing. You don't have to stage them against each other. They fight on their own.
They know how to argue with each other
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. Also, it helps on the learning curve as far as like, oh, when something happens, when you mess up on the older one, you're like, okay, it's genetic. We can fix that on the next one.
Yeah.
Which would be harder to do if they weren't related.
Yeah, I like to tell people the trick to having 3 kids is to keep one in timeout at all times.
Yeah, right. Oh my
Just
gosh,
right.
yes. My children, it's like they can't all be active doing the same thing at the same time. Like I have to keep one of them out of the whatever's happening,
Yes.
out of the activity at all times. It's hard enough having them all in the car at the same time. We have I know that you can fit 3 kids in a sedan. Like technically that you can fit 3 kids in a sedan, but I'll tell you, our lives would be so different if we did not have a 3rd row in our car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
when you take
Benji-
them in the truck, is that tough?
Well, Benji got old enough to sit in the front seat.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, see,
And
the
so
oldest on mine is
once
old
we
enough,
moved
yeah.
into the front seat, we
Yeah.
were good to go.
Yes, when I'm taking the 3 kids and no wife, yes, the oldest sitting in the front is night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But when my wife is in the car, we've got to have that 3rd row. We've got to have a kid in the back,
Yeah.
which ends up being the youngest usually because you send the smallest one into the back.
Yeah. No, we put them all 3 back in the back, and Benji he's almost like 5'6", 5'7" now, and he's scrunched up in the middle seat.
Is he the oldest?
Yeah.
How old, Benji?
He is 13.
13, yeah. Yeah, my son's 14. My oldest son is 14. Yeah, he's getting tall too. He's taller than my wife finally.
Yeah.
He's not taller than me yet. He's getting up there though. The day he gets taller than me, I don't know what'll happen. The dynamic's going to
That'd
change.
be the day. Yeah.
You're gonna have to punch them.
Yeah.
That you've got to assert dominance.
Yeah.
When as soon as they break that, you pop them right in the face.
My middle child, Daniel, he's probably going to be the tallest. He's already catching up to Lewis, the oldest. So he's already catching up. So he's probably going to be the tallest. He's always been way above his height level. So he's probably going to be taller than me. So we'll see. We'll see though. I don't know. My wife is not tall. My wife's 5'3", but her mom is tall. And her grandpa's tall. Like, she's got tall genes in the family. Like, her mom's my height, and that's tall for I'm 5'9". Her mom's about my height, and that's tall for a girl. But her dad is like 5'6". So, I don't know. We'll see. We could end up with a variety of heights in our family.
It is weird. Like my mother's, her and her siblings are 12 kids.
12 kids?
12 kids in my mom's side of the family. There are 9 on my dad's side. And I'm an only child, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But 12.
Yeah, let's fix that with the next generation. Yeah.
12 kids. They were all super short, except for the youngest, who was 6'4", like 350 pounds. All the rest of them were like 5'5", 5'6", maybe. Yeah.
If I was dad, I think I might have.
Yeah,
to
all of the same
Wait a
dad.
But I guess my great grandfather was like 6'4" or something like that.
Okay.
And so
that's still pretty odd.
yeah.
And who told you this? The
Yeah.
mom?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh well. Sometimes when
See,
they're
my grandpa was tall.
he
You've
was-
never met him, and you'll never see him because he died years ago. But he was tall.
They all look alike.
He lived in Canada.
Yeah, it's weird like that, man.
Well, I know my kids are definitely my kids because the first one, ADD right off the bat. So that one's definitely mine. Second kid, very artistic. So that's definitely mine too. Third kid eats his own boogers. So that's mine too. No, the third kid, he's only 7, so we'll see. We'll see what he inherited. My oldest child is very good at like public speaking, very good at like even though he has ADD, he's neurodivergent, so he's got some quirks and some interesting things he's had to overcome in his. But he's very, very smart, and he was in like the news crew and good at being on camera and stuff like that. I always wanted him in my videos and stuff like that, but he has no interest in it. Like, he has no interest in doing things. I'm like, you have a natural ability and a natural talent and a natural stage presence, but he doesn't have any interest in it. And the other 2 kids do. So, like the middle kid, he has a a desire and everything, but he doesn't have the natural stage presence that Lewis has. But I can't talk Lewis into doing anything. He doesn't like to do videos or anything. He was barely on. He was on the podcast to eat a taco. That was it. He wouldn't do anything else on the podcast. Let's go ahead and bring up our subject today.
I bet people can guess.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you could tell or if you just thought this is how we dress all the time. But our topic today is, it takes a while to show up on the screen.
It is
National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. That's what we've got today. This is my Star Wars Christmas sweater, Darth Vader. We've got Snoopy. We've got an actual Christmas tree.
Yes. This is a child's Christmas tree costume. It's supposed to go to your feet.
Yeah.
It has
sweater length for you.
It has.
it does go to your chair.
It has presents that go around your shoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forgot those, but it came from Forever 21 because I'm trendy.
That came from Forever 21?
Yeah.
They sold that at Forever 21?
That is correct.
How much does that cost at Forever 21?
It was $30, but it was 50% off.
Oh, nice. All right. That's maybe a little worth it.
Oh, absolutely. I've worn it twice, and both times it's been great.
That's great. Well, thank you for dressing so festive.
I needed help putting it on, and I will also need help getting it off.
Oh, well, that is... I think I would need help getting it on and off, even not being in a wheelchair.
Oh, no, that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's 12 sizes too small.
Well, we've got some Christmas topics to talk about today. First of all, let's ask a quick trivia question. Does anybody know when the first ugly Christmas sweater was unveiled? Like when did that start? What year that started?
I'm pretty sure it started the year that the Cosby Show began.
Oh yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that happening. I have no idea. I didn't. I just decided to ask that question without knowing the answer.
I mean, I assume. See, they were just Christmas sweaters.
Right.
That women wore.
Yes.
Like my mom is the queen of Christmas sweaters. She had a ton of them.
Christmas sweaters have been around for a long time.
Yeah, and it wasn't until somebody else found them and was making fun of their own mother.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I will say, so do you remember the movie The Santa Claus, Tim Allen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Judge, what's his first name?
Judge Reinhold.
Or that's his first name, Judge Reinhold. Judge Reinhold was in that movie as the stepdad, the psychiatrist. Now, at the time, he was positioned as the bad guy, right? Like he kind of seemed villainy. But watching it have you watched it as an adult? He's just trying to help that kid from his insane father. Like that, from his perspective, he's the good guy. Like he's an actual psychiatrist that has and is trying to help his stepson who's got this insane father that thinks he's Santa Claus or that doesn't even understand if he thinks he's Santa Claus. And then I just remember him, every chance he got, he would make fun of his sweaters. Do you remember like Judge Reinhold's character? Neil, that was his name, Neil.
Okay.
And Neil had these ridiculous-looking sweaters every time. And I just remember the dynamic. I actually really enjoyed the dynamic of him and the ex-wife. Like, they had a good acting dynamic. And I remember him making fun of the sweater, and it was a good zinger. And then Neil looks at the wife and was like in support, and she goes, well, like she gives the face like, well, he's not wrong. Like that's a ridiculous sweater, and that's what the little things like that make that movie good. I think that was a very well made movie. It's still one of my favorite Christmas movies.
My daughter is watching it in school today.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, we had to sign
Nice.
a permission slip so that they could watch that.
Yeah,
And then
I love that movie.
she explained to me what the movie was going to be about and why it was okay for her to watch it, but. She's never seen it, but she knew the whole plot of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. Have you watched any of the sequels or anything like that?
I think I watched the second one.
My kids got obsessed with it a couple years ago, so I've watched them all. But first one is a very good movie. It's a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a bedrock Christmas movie at this point. Like I think it's part of the rotation of like one that you can watch every year, and it's universally beloved. Elf is another one.
Elf,
Christmas Story, obviously.
Yeah.
What's another one?
I would say, it just slipped.
Any of the Grinches.
Any of the the Grinches end up being them. Yeah.
No, I do not like the Jim Carrey Grinch.
You don't like the Jim Carrey Grinch?
No.
I never liked the Jim Carrey Grinch, like growing up or whatever. Well, I was an adult when it came out, but like I never really liked it that much. But seeing my kids watch it, there are some jokes in there that I appreciate now that I have kids and seeing them watch it, and I do appreciate the neurotic character of the Grinch, like his neurosis. I kind of appreciated some of those jokes and stuff like that. But yeah, you're not a fan.
Not a fan. I like Jim Carrey. I don't think that he did anything wrong as the character. I think it doesn't hit for me.
It definitely doesn't have a Dr. Seuss feel to it anymore.
Yeah.
Like when you watch Dr. Seuss cartoons, like the Cat in the Hat or the original Grinch cartoon, which the original Grinch cartoon was like what? Like 10 minutes or whatever. It's a short,
right, like 20
short thing.
minutes
It's based
tops.
off a book that's this thin, you know. So watching those things, they had a feel to them that I think was lost in the Grinch movie. Now, did you watch the animated
with
more
Benedict
recent one?
Cumberbatch?
Yeah, with Benedict Cumberbatch.
I actually like it a lot.
I liked that one a lot too, and I feel like it has, and maybe it's just an aesthetics thing, but I feel like it has feels more like Dr. Seuss to me. The animated new one feels more like Dr. and has that. I get that feeling of a Dr. Seuss book when I watch that.
Although not technically Christmas movies, the Harry Potter movies always are big this time of year for
that is true
for my
that
family.
is true, and I guess they're not technically Christmas movies, but there's always Christmas in them.
Yes,
like Christmas because they always take place over a school year, so it's like there's always a reference to Christmas or something like that.
And it's usually a big part of the book too.
Yes, right.
Something important happens.
There's always
around
something
then.
important. Yeah, that's true. We'll go favorite non-traditional Christmas movie. So what's your favorite? We'll go Wes, you're the guest. We'll go you first. Favorite, not like meaning we're not talking about Elf. We're not talking about, Christmas Carol, stuff like that. Like what's in your favorite non-traditional Christmas movie?
Probably Home Alone.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. My kids love that one too. My kids love Home Alone. Yeah, that's a good one. Even the second one is still good too, Lost in New York. But yeah, Home Alone's a good non-traditional Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's one of those. Also, Friday.
Is Friday a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
It happens around Christmas.
I forgot. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I don't think of it like that.
They interviewed Ice Cube about it and why he chose to make it a Christmas movie. He says because all the Christmas movies he's ever seen take place in like the South or on the East Coast where there's snow and there's trees.
Right.
And that in California, that's not how Christmas looks.
Right.
So,
yeah, I didn't even think. That's funny. I didn't even think. Yeah, it is definitely a Christmas movie. Yeah. It's because it's called Friday, I think. Like you don't think of it as a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even thought of it, but looking at it, like as soon as it's mentioned, makes sense.
There's always snow and Christmas trees.
Yeah.
And it's like in California, we don't have any of that.
I would like to point out my favorite non-traditional Christmas movie actually falls in line with that, Lethal Weapon. Happens during Christmas, opens with a Christmas song. The final fight happens on the lawn after they destroy the Christmas tree.
The first Lethal Weapon?
The first Lethal Weapon.
Oh.
It is.
I don't remember that either. I don't remember the Christmas parts of that either, but you're right. It does start with a Christmas song, doesn't it?
It starts with the Christmas song. There's a Christmas dance. They're talking about New Year's party.
Yes.
There's a Christmas tree, presents,
that.
all these things. I love that movie. Just a friend of mine in college, one of my best friends, like we will still just text each other lines from that movie occasionally, just because it was our thing. But absolutely Christmas movie.
Yeah, Dad is definitely a Christmas. I didn't even think of that one. My favorite non-traditional Christmas movie. Now, people will argue about Die Hard, whether it's a Christmas movie or not. I say it is a Christmas movie. This isn't my pick, but I say this is my argument for Die Hard being a Christmas movie. His purpose in going to California from New York, speaking of Christmas movies that take place in California with no snow, his purpose of going to L.A. From New York was to bring a Christmas present to his daughter, and he was at a Christmas party. Like he is part of the plot is I'm bringing a Christmas present to my daughter. That alone makes it a Christmas movie.
And going to the Christmas party, trying to win back his wife.
Which
is very
They had
Christmassy.
separated, but they weren't quite divorced yet. Like that's very Christmassy too. That has a Christmas feel. Now, granted, they don't address Christmas really after the action starts, after Hans Gruber gets involved. But they do, I think they do have a Christmas song in there at some point. Does it end on a Christmas song, maybe?
Yes, it ends with
A Christmas song, I'm pretty sure.
ends with I believe Fat Boy's Christmas song.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah. So there's a Christmas song in there. He's bringing a Christmas present. Somebody argued it's not a Christmas movie because the event could have been anything. Like it could have been it was just a workplace party. I was like, no, but nobody's bringing a spouse. Nobody's like going and bringing a present to a non-Christmas workplace party. Like it had a very specific feel. He's not flying across the country for a workplace retirement party or something like that. Like the Christmas party is what brought him across the country. Yep. So I think that makes it a Christmas movie for sure. But that's not what I was going to say is my favorite non-traditional Christmas movie. What? My favorite non-traditional Christmas movie is Batman Returns.
Okay. I don't think I've seen it since it's been in the theater, but I believe you.
Plenty of snow everywhere. It's Christmas in Gotham. Catwoman and Batman kiss under the mistletoe. There's all this stuff.
I have no recollection of that whatsoever.
For that one.
Yeah. It is a Christmas movie now.
Who is Batman in Batman Forever? Which
Keaton,
one is that?
right?
It's Batman Returns, and it's Keaton.
Keaton.
Did I say Batman Forever or Batman Returns?
I don't know.
It's Batman Returns is what I'm talking about. But yes, Batman Returns. He was only in the first two and then in Flash later on. But he was in the first two as Batman. But yes, that's Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito as the Penguin.
Yeah, I remember him being extremely gross.
What a classic.
Yeah, Danny DeVito was very disturbing in that movie.
I forget what my kids were watching that Danny DeVito was in. And they're like, I'm like, just wait till you can watch It's Always Sunny.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
A true masterclass of Danny DeVito.
We have brought that up on the podcast, and I always have to say the disclaimer to my children when you're listening to this podcast: do not watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia. No. Not until you're 35.
Yeah. But when you are 35, the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia Christmas episode is one of the greatest.
That is pretty good. There's a good question. Favorite Christmas episode of a TV show?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Yeah. You want to think about it for a second? Because I've got one in mind.
One of my favorite is I think it might be one of the very first seasons of The Simpsons.
They always had good Christmas episodes.
Yeah, it's one of the first ones where they're at the mall shopping and Bart gets a mom tattoo.
Yeah.
It's the first.
That's the very first episode ever.
I was going to say.
Right?
I think so.
First episode ever?
Yeah, because they get Santa's little helper.
Yeah.
Alexa, stop. Yeah, that's when they get the dog. Yeah, that's
Marge has to spend the
good
Christmas
episode.
money to get the tattoo removed.
Yep.
And then Homer gets a job as a Santa Claus.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he spends his paycheck at the dog track and loses.
That is a classic Christmas. Yeah, that is a classic Christmas.
Yeah.
All right, I'll say my favorite Christmas episode, and then we'll go to Bobby, and then we're going to wrap it up here in a second because we've been going for a while.
Yeah.
My favorite Christmas episode is, I don't remember what season it is because he did a few of these, but Frasier had a really good Christmas episode, and he is dating a Jewish woman, and she doesn't realize he's not Jewish because his ex-wife is Jewish and so his son is Jewish, and he's talking about buying Hanukkah. When he meets her, he's talking about buying Hanukkah presents. And then eventually he's like, "Oh, you celebrate?" She's like, "You celebrate Christmas?" He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, well, that's fine, but my mother thinks you're Jewish. When the mother's coming over, and he has to hide all these Christmas presents, and he has to tell his brother and his dad not to bring up Christmas, and he has to hide all the Christmas decorations. He's like, "Just act Jewish, Dad. You've got to act Jewish." And he's like, "How am I supposed to act Jewish?" And he's like, "I don't know. Just answer every question with a question. That's how you act Jewish." And then, so he's trying to act Jewish the whole time. Meanwhile, Niles is in a production of Jesus Christ Superstar and shows up dressed as Jesus to the apartment. And there's a whole, like, that is one of my favorite Christmas. That's probably my favorite Christmas episode of any sitcom. I would recommend anybody watching it on Christmas time. Very hilarious episode.
I love it. I'm going to go in a slightly different way. It's not a sitcom, but the TV show House.
Oh, they had a good Christmas episode?
They had a good Christmas episode. It's normal houses, curmudgeonly, dissing religion, propping up silence, which is fine. Yeah, I was a big fan of that show, but he's very, very atheist, but at the end, something happens. It's like he can't explain it.
That makes him question. Yeah, I like those. I kind of like those. Yeah.
It's like it never really changed him, but
but
it was like,
gives
hey,
you a thought. Those are kind of fun.
Yeah, it hit.
All right, well, there you have it. That's our Christmas episode. Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. Any shows you're going to be in soon that people can go to? This will air on Friday, so Friday or later.
Nothing coming up real soon, but you can follow me at Wes Johnson on all the socials.
Wes Johnson.
And wesjohnson.com.
wesjohnson.com. Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like that because you're telling people what to do.
Yeah.
Right off front. You laugh at this.
Yeah, you have to know it's funny. It's going to be funny.
Bobby Parker Comedy.
Bobby Parker Comedy on all the socials.
My Instagram is Joey5cent. Everything else is Joey Nickel .05. The 27th, December 27th, I have a show at Barley and Pie. That's our monthly show at Barley and Pie. Danny Johnson will be headlining that show December 27th.
That's a great show.
At Barley and Pie. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I do not have any booked shows. Hopefully I will soon.
You'll be getting back in the saddle pretty soon. Yeah. I guess that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Today is National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. See you next week, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.